everyone, it's Sharona from Pay or Wait, and today we'll be reviewing Euphoria Season 1, Episode 6, the next episode. So, I know what you guys are thinking. Beesh, where the heck you been? I am so sorry, guys. I have not been feeling 100%. I randomly broke out. I wasn't feeling well. And so I think my body was just tired from traveling for the past 2 weeks. And then at work, I have this really big presentation in front of my director tomorrow. So I've been working on that. Work has just been crazy, catching up from being out. So I'm just letting you guys know, I don't do YouTube all day. I got to pay these bills. I got a 9 to 5. So I am back. I'm trying to catch up on all of my videos before Sunday. So I apologize. I miss you guys so much. I've been wondering why am I so miserable at work. And I'm like, because I ain't got my friends to chat with on YouTube. So I'm back. So let's go ahead and get into this episode. So this episode centers around Christopher McKay, who's played by Algee Smith. And so this is his episode. We know that all of the episodes this season has focused around one of the main characters of the cast. And so what I found interesting at the beginning of this episode is we see the young version of Chris as his dad is working him out before football practice. And I think it's really interesting what he's reciting. And for those of you who don't know, he's reciting a poem called America, which is actually written by Claude McKay. They both had a last name. I thought that was actually pretty cool. And so Claude McKay, he was a poet during the Harlem Renaissance. And so this poem, America, he's an immigrant from Jamaica. And so what's interesting about the words that young Chris McKay is basically reciting is that America, this poem was about Claude's journey to America, about the racism, the injustice that he experienced while being in America. However, he still loves America despite the struggles that America brings to him, but he's able to persevere. And so I find it very interesting because it directly relates to Chris's story. We see that his dad works him really hard. His dad is training him to be the best at football. We saw him working him out. He does a full workout before he even has regular practice. And so we see that his dad is very hard on him. And we see in one of the games that he had, I'm assuming that one of the opposing team members whispered something racist in his ear, one of his one of the white players from the opposing team. And so Chris goes and basically hits the kid. He gets suspended from the game. And so the kid is crying and he's trying to explain to his dad what he said to him to make him do that. But basically his dad tells him that you can't let your emotions get the best of you. And so he basically says, when you get emotional or you get angry, you lose. And that's basically the game of this world. The world will continuously come after you, will poke at you, will try to get you to do things to react. But that is not a luxury that you have. So he basically teaches him that he needs to internalize his anger and then basically put that into making himself succeed. So when something bad happens to him, he needs to take that anger and focus it into football, focus it into him playing the game, being the best, and then eventually getting drafted to the NFL. But one of the things that he quickly realizes when he goes to college, and I find this very interesting and relatable because most people, when they're in grade school, when they're in high school, they're the best on the team. So they're used to always being the best, never really having competition. But what he realizes is even though he chose to play Division I football at a state college close to home, is that when he got into practices, he realized that everyone was, if not just as good as him, but better than him. And so as he's been sitting on the bench during preseason and even when he's in practice, he realizes that his chances of going pro are little to none. And so that messes with his confidence because the only compartment in life that he feels confidence, that he feels like he's succeeding, is football. And so when you take that away, he doesn't really know who he is or what he has to offer into the world and what his future is going to be. We know that he's smarter than other football players, so he can easily do well in his studies and become a good businessman, but his dad has always raised him to be in the NFL. So when you know that you can achieve that goal, what do you do in life at that point? And so that kind of speaks to why McKay, he always feels confused, he's insecure, and you clearly see this in his relationship between him and Cassie. And so we see that when she comes out in her costume, she has this Halloween, and so she's going to one of the college parties. And when she comes down, he's just looking at her what are you wearing? And so she was actually dressed as Alabama Worley. She was character in this movie called True Romance with Patricia Arquette and Christian Slater, but he was just like, look, like, I can't take you to this party with you looking like that. You know, I'm never going to hear the end of it. And she was like, it's in a good way or a bad way. And he's just like, in a bad way. And that really annoyed the heck out of me. I cannot stand insecure men. Like, if you know you got a bad beach, like you know you got a bad beach, like, you should walk around like, look, that's my girl. She loves me. I love her. So I know my girl look good. Go ahead and look at her look good. Because guess what? You ain't getting none of that. Because who's she coming home to? She coming home to me. But instead, because he's insecure, he makes her hide her beauty. And what's funny is he likes the way that she dresses. And that's what attracted him to her in the first place. But now that they're together, he doesn't want her to dress that way. So that's why he doesn't like her costume. Is too revealing. We even saw my girl. She had on a dress, had all the little titties bouncing and stuff. I said, okay, girl, I see you. But I'm trying to figure out what dress code we got that allows you to wear that. I don't know, because I went to a Catholic school, so like we had rules. You could have your skirt starting lift and stuff, but I was just like, I don't know what kind of dress code policy that you guys got, but I guess I should have been at that school instead. But so they're at this party, and actually before that, I do want to talk more about these videos. So we know that Chris is basically, he feels a certain type of way because we know that when Nate found out that he liked her, he was thinking about talking to her, he showed her all these videos of her having sex with these guys. And so I feel a certain type of way about this because we have never been able to confirm, like, was just her hooking up? Did she know that she was being recorded? Was this her man that she was taking videos with? Because I'm like, if that's your man and you wanted to take videos with your man so y'all could take notes and figure out what you guys could do better or to marvel at your work, that's fine. Do what you do, boo. But we can't confirm, like, did she know she was being recorded? Was this her boyfriend? I just feel as though him being upset about these videos, like, it bothers me because you get upset because she's basically acting like she has no idea that these videos exist, which she could not know. But at the same point, you're mad at her for not owning up to it, but you can't even be man enough to actually say something to her like, hey, I know about these tapes. They bother me. Let's talk about it. And so that's what annoys me, that he's so caught up on this. He loves her. He wants to be with her, but he's so caught up on something that she did before she was even with him. So like, what does it matter? But this just speaks more to his insecurity that he has and how he can't handle being with someone who is as sought after. Every guy wants to be with her. She's one of the most beautiful women in the school. And so the same things that attract him to her also makes him feel insecure, even though he's with her and she's not with anyone else. But we know that she's been flirting with Daniel, the guy that she kind of kissed and flirted with at the carnival. And so they have this weird relationship where he acts like he don't know her because she's like, I got a boyfriend, but I'm still gonna flirt with you. I'm still gonna kiss you. And I was just like, Cassie, I don't know about this. Like, I don't understand. But she ends up going to the party. He makes her put on a football jersey over her costume because he just can't take her being a bad bitch in the room. And so after at the party, she's like kind of mad at him, as she should be. And then they go back to the room and then they start having sex. But in the middle of them having sex, basically the fraternity that he's been trying to pledge, they bust up in his room wearing nothing but underwear with dildos on the outside of them. They pull him down to the ground. They're recording all of this, like Cassie screaming, saying, stop, don't touch him. And I can't tell if they just dry humped him or if they actually penetrated him. Like, both is bad either way, shape, or form. I don't understand why people think that that is cute. And I was just like, sir, doing all that, you should have just went ahead and pledged a black fraternity and you wouldn't even be in all of this mess in the first place. So he's traumatized. I'm traumatized. Cassie traumatized. I'm trying to figure out, I didn't rewind and watch the scene 15 million times until I couldn't just stomach it anymore. And I just can't tell what actually happened. But at the end of it, we see that he's crying. And, you know, he's obviously shook up about this, as he should be. And he immediately goes into the bathroom, cries. But then we see that he takes the notes of his dad basically telling him to internalize his pain, to focus that to something else. And so all of a sudden, after he's done crying, he just becomes emotionless in the face and looks in the mirror, walks outside like, why you got your clothes on? And she looking like, bitch, was you not here for what just happened? And then he was like, so you're not trying to have sex? And I was like, girl, no, she ain't. Boy, no, she ain't trying to have no sex. Are you serious? Like, did you forget what just happened? And so he was like, take your clothes off. And so she take her clothes off. And I was just like, girl, I would have been like, nah, I'm not doing this. But it's a weird situation, and he was already emasculated in front of her. It's just crazy. So she has sex with him. He basically turns her over, gets aggressive, takes her from behind, and basically trying to get his masculinity back and assert authority over her while having sex. And we see that she's crying. She goes into the bathroom and cries, and she's trying to wipe the nut off her back. I was like, sir, I know you're mad, but you couldn't get no warm towel and get my girl's back clean. Like, she had to do it herself. You got her using these little raggedy tissues. You didn't want to get her no warm, like, washcloth. No, I'm just saying, I know you've been through a lot, but it's only right that you at least do that. So they're in a weird place. And so when she's texting him at the party, the Halloween party that Daniel's throwing at his house because his parents are out of town, like, we don't know yet what happened. And she's trying to say, like, hey, I want to talk about these things, which I think is very interesting, too, because for me, just speaking as a Black woman and, interacting with Black men, I do feel as though that sometimes Black men aren't taught to share their feelings, to communicate. And we see that this is being instilled in him by his father. When his son does get emotional with him, when he tries to talk to him about his feelings, his dad immediately shuts him down and tells him, like, hey, like, you got to take what the world, you got to take what the world, basically attacks you with, and you just have to, like, suck it up and do what you need to do because you have to be successful. So I think it's interesting that they show that, and how in society, a lot of men aren't allowed to, Black men aren't allowed to show their emotions, or they be like, dude, that's gay. I ain't telling you. I'm just like, y'all, it's okay to communicate. It's okay to say how you feel. And I think it's interesting that they do explore that with Chris's character on the show. And so I just thought that was very interesting that she's been trying to get him to talk, which is causing friction in their relationship because he's not telling her about the issues that he has, about the tapes that he's seen. And then also, too, now he's not talking about this traumatic experience that they both were a part of. And so because of this, Cassie is basically flirting with Daniel at the party. He sees that he's dressed as Ted Bundy. And I was like, rightfully so, because you're creepy as hell and I just don't understand what you have going on. So they flirting, they start dancing, and then he takes her upstairs and then they start kissing. And I was like, Lord, so you really finna like smash him? But she stops. She's like, hey, I can't do this. I have a boyfriend. And I'm like, so you can't smash him, but you've been kissing him. Like, why are you need to just leave him alone completely because you're sending mixed signals. But if she told you no, then no means no. And he got upset. So he was trying to get her to give him head, like everything. And so I thought that he was about to rape her because she was like, I'm drunk. I'm finna go home. I can't do this. And then he was just like, are you serious? Like, so like, what's your problem? Like, you done gave me blue balls twice now. You the one who sought me out at the carnival. I wasn't even worried about you. And so he was just like, what do you think? Like, I'm interested in you. Like, I want to get to know you. I was like, well, you was just telling her she was the most beautiful girl in the world. But I know that dudes be lying because I didn't have some crazy stories and stuff that people done did. But you know what? We're not going to worry about our past. We're going to the future. But he basically tells her like, hey, you are not interested at all. I don't have any like intentions with you outside of having sex with you. And I'm gonna tell you the truth that any dude who's trying to talk to you, he's just trying to have sex with you. He doesn't want anything more. You sit up here whining about your boyfriend. He probably don't want you either. You're boring. Then she started crying. And then he was just like, oh, look, you're crying now. So, but in the midst of all of this happening, Chris ends up coming to the party because, they were texting and she was just like, I'm done with him. He comes to the party and I'm thinking like he go upstairs, he start checking doors and stuff. And I was like, Lord, he is finna walk in on them. But you know what happened? My girl Lexi saves the day. She's showing what a sister needs to do. So she, before he can even open the door, gets to the door, she's like, hey, my sister went home. She ain't here. I was like, Lexi, I see you, girl. I see you taking up for your sister, trying not to get her caught up in whatever shenanigans that she's a part of. And so basically he ends up leaving. He tells her like, hey, let me know you know, tell her that I was looking for her. And then when she goes home, she's crying. She grabs her mom's bottle of liquor because her mama alcoholic. She passed out on the couch already. And then she goes into the class. She starts drinking. Then she sees the box of tampons. I don't know why people keep the tampons. It looked like she was in the kitchen cupboard. I don't know who keep their tampons in the kitchen cupboard. I thought that was a little weird. Maybe I just saw things a different way. But then she realizes, Beesh, I ain't had my cycle. We knew she was gonna get pregnant, y'all. Her mama been saying the whole season, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant. And of course in a teen show like this, somebody gotta get pregnant, so why not it be Cassie? So now we don't know what the heck is gonna happen, what she's gonna do. We know that next week's episode is about her. It seemed like she was crying, laying on McKay. I don't know if she got an abortion or what she decided she was going to do, but it should be interesting to see how all of that plays out. But we see that Chris actually goes to have a conversation with his dad to tell him like, hey, like, I just don't feel as though I'm going to get drafted. I'm not good enough. And so his dad's response, instead of just like really hearing his son and what he has to say and letting him talk through his emotions, he basically just tells him like, it's all in your head. And if you start doubting yourself, like, this isn't going to happen. And so once again, he shuts it down. He doesn't allow his son. He doesn't even just allow himself just to be a dad and just to talk to his son. Like, their only relationship, their only connection is sports, is him. And I don't know if he's trying to live, you know how some parents try to live their glory days through their children. I don't know, but it's really unfortunate that he can't have that connection with his dad. And it's just really sad to watch, but I find that that's very relatable in what we see in today's society. Hell, now that I think about it, I don't even think my mama let me share my feelings. I remember one time I tried to tell her, Mama, I just feel like y'all don't like me. And she was like, girl, who told you you could have thoughts, emotions, feelings? I ain't trying to make y'all seem like my mama bad. Daddy, if you watching this, make sure she don't see this part. But I could relate to what he was going through, of always feeling as though you have to hide your pain. Even as a Black person, having to hide your pain, hide what the world is bringing to you, especially being a Black person in a predominantly white school, because that's what I went through from fourth grade all the way through to college, because I went to a Catholic and Jesuit, you know, university. So I can relate to McKay in those ways of not feeling as though you have an outlet or you can talk to your family about what's really going on, what your true feelings are, and always having this high standard of how you have to succeed, not only for yourself, but for your whole family. And that's even for me being a first generation college student. I can really relate to his pain. So that's all I'm gonna say about him. For once, like, I enjoyed his storyline. I didn't feel like they was raggedy or wasteful. I'm okay. I'm with you guys now. I'm with you to see how they kind of flesh out his character in the next season. Now they've been renewed for season 2. So we got to talk about Jules and Ruth. So Jules is trying to get lit. She's trying to get litty. Actually, I'm not going to talk about her yet. Let me talk about Kat real quick. So Kat, I just don't understand what's going on with Kat. So she got her little business going. She got 4 dudes that she's camming with now, getting all her little coins, getting all her little checks and stuff. And so we see that this random guy messes her like, hey, you know, I want to join the roster. And she was like, nah, I'm good. He was like, money's not an issue. And then she was like, I don't care. And so basically he buys her whole wish list. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, girl, can you put some of my stuff? Like, she had me feeling like I need to go make an Amazon wish list right now. If all I got to do is fake twerk, because, you know, I can't twerk all the way. But if that's all I got to do, girl, sign me up. Let me know what to do, because these student loans and these bills, it's not what you want, child. So we see that Ethan tries to talk to Kat at the party. He's trying to be nice to her. If I was him, I would have been gave up on her, because you ain't gonna treat me raggedy like that. And so he walks up to her and basically asks her, like, what happened after the carnival? Like, you just been different since then. And she goes off on him like, you know, what do you think? Like, we're gonna be booze or something? We're gonna be boyfriend or girlfriend? That's never gonna happen. If you just want me to like give you head, or if you want to smash, just let me know. And I'm like, why do you do that? It's like she does it as a defense mechanism, that she's going to automatically assume that that's all that men want from her. And you actually have somebody who's trying to have more with you, but you just won't allow that to happen. And so Ethan just walks away. But then my man gets some liquid courage. He goes and finds her. He said, you know, I'm going to shoot my shot. He takes her upstairs to the bathroom. He starts kissing on her. And then she asks him, like, what's your number? And then she realizes he's a virgin. And I was like, Lord, he a virgin. And then she was like, well, I don't do virgins. I said, ma'am, I don't know how many months between these episodes, But you was just a virgin. So how you sit here talking about you don't do virgins and you was just a virgin like 4 episodes ago? I don't understand how that works, but okay. But then she tells him, like, you know, people be catching feelings. And I was like, well, you know, you kind of got a point right there. But I was like, stop doing my man wrong like this. So Ethan was like, you know what, girl? He started kissing her. He's like, I'm going to show you what that mouth do. Like, that ain't what he said, but that's what he started doing. And so then he started giving her head. But why my man's like, I thought he was going to seal the deal, but why he not? Why he was kissing her? I said, Ethan, my goodness. Like, I appreciate you for putting that mouth work in. Because, you know, most high school dudes, they don't understand until they get older that you have to show what the mouth do before you can show what the peen do, okay? But he goes to the bathroom. He's like, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. But then he misses his chance. She leaves, and then I think she about to hook up with old creepy Daniel. I was like, girl, that's the last person that you need to be messing with at this point. But yeah, I just had to give a little talk about what happened with her, because I just like, Kat really bothers me, because on one hand, she makes it seem like she takes control of her body. She does what she wants to do, but she really has sex with people because she's afraid of being rejected by them. So she feels as though if she uses her body to get what she thinks they want and what she thinks she wants, if she really doesn't want all of that. I just have a whole issue with that, and I really hope that she works that out amongst herself, but I don't even think that she's figured it out. But we got to talk about Rue, Jules, Nate. It's a lot of craziness going on. So Rue is sober, so she goes to the party. She's going with Jules, so she goes pick up Jules first. Jules dressed like old girl from Romeo and Juliet, the Leonardo and Claire Danes version. And so basically she tries to go in for the kiss. She's like, girl, you look effing amazing. I was like, go ahead and compliment your girl, boo. And then she leaned in for the kiss. The girl like curbed her. I said, Jules, why did you do that? Like, I know you didn't like her, but it, like, you could have gave her a peck on the cheek or something. Like, you didn't have to do all of that. So Rue already feeling her type of way. She can tell Jules is acting different. Jules is drinking, which she really doesn't drink like that. She says like the last time she saw her drink was the night at Chris's party. And so she knows that something has happened, something is off, but she doesn't know what it is. But then when they go pick up Lexi, why were you dressed like Bob Ross, the little painter? Even her mom was like, girl, you know the point of Halloween is to look sexy. But I was just like, you know what, Lexi, if that's what you want to do, I support you, girl. But I just got a huge cackle out of that. So while they're at the party, essentially, she sees that Gia's at the party and she's basically getting high with Troy. So Rue is like, hell nah. She goes and threatens Troy and basically tells him like, you better not have my sister do any more drugs whatsoever, or I'm gonna get all these dudes from the rehab facility on you. But I was like, girl, why you quoting all these The Wire characters? I was like, I guess you young, Troy, so you didn't know that those were The Wire characters that she was basically naming off. But then when she was like, Roy, and then he's like, it's Troy. She's like, I don't give a F. That whole scene cracked me up. And so she basically told him, like, you need to be respectful to her. And then he basically goes to Gia, like, you know, you look nice. Can I get you any refreshments? And that whole scene just made me just smile on the inside. I definitely did cackle out loud. But I love how Gia was dressed up as Black Panther. And I think Troy was dressed as Malcolm X. So I thought that was like a cute little nod. And I thought that was a cute costume, y'all. But in the midst of all of this, she sees Fez at the party. And so she goes to apologize to Fez. And what I find interesting when she's trying to apologize is that he says, I know you're a drug addict, and to be honest, I don't trust anything that a drug addict does or says, which I find very interesting because it almost feels as though that he thinks that their relationship their friendship isn't real. I still think that Fez has feelings for her. I know y'all saying that Lexi has feelings for her too. I don't know if I'm completely sold on it, but I can see it. Or she could just really be concerned. They've been friends since they were young. But I just found it so interesting, you know, what he said. He basically says, we're cool. They tell each other they love him. And, you know, and she tells him that she's actually, you know, sober now, and she thanks him for not selling her drugs. So she knows that he was trying to be a good friend. But in the midst of this, she sees that Jules jumps in the pool. She drunk. She tried to go and tell her, like, girl, you are being embarrassing right now. Get your behind up out this pool. She ended up pulling her in the pool. Then they end up kissing. I'm like, Jules, we got to stop playing with Rue's emotions, especially when you know that she's trying to be sober. She's trying to be clean, but we know something's off with Jules, but we don't necessarily know what has happened yet. And so after all of that happens, Rue goes into the bathroom. She starts crying. Then she Lexi finds her. She's like, I know I'm a burden. She says she's about to leave, and they try to get Jules to leave. Jules like, hell nah, I'm up here, I'm having a good time. So then Lexi's like, okay, well, we're gonna go. But Rue's like, I can't leave her like that. So they're basically trying to make sure Jules doesn't do anything more crazy than what she's already been doing. But in the midst of that, she sees, actually, I'm gonna go into Nate, because then we'll end with what happens with Rue actually being sober to see what is happening. So Nate has been suspended because, you know, he's been accused of choking Maddie. So him and Maddie have basically been meeting each other at the hotel on Fridays to smash, hook up. And then Maddie basically tells him that he needs to have a plan. So we see in his spare time, he tries to go have dinner with his parents. But basically the restaurant tells him that they don't want them with his son in here, given everything that's happened. And so they basically said, we'll bring your food outside for you, but you can't come in here and eat. And so he basically, Cal tells him like, I'm gonna remember this. And so we see that Nate has been stalking Maddie, he's been stalking Jules, and we see finally why Jules is upset, because he comes up with this plan to basically clear his name. So he goes to Tyler's house, and I was like, Lord, can you leave Tyler alone? My man got a neck brace. He said he got a detached retina. He can't see. He having migraines. So basically he tells him, you have to go to the police station, confess to choking Maddie. Either you do that, or Maddie's gonna go to the police and tell them that you raped her in the swimming pool at Chris's party, and that you choked her and raped her again at the carnival. And so basically Tyler has to go and admit to the crime, or he's gonna go to jail for something even worse. And we see that Nate actually blackmailed Jules. He printed out her pictures that she sent him and basically said, you have to say that you saw Maddie get attacked by Tyler to kind of corroborate the story. And so the detective knows that something ain't right with this, and she even tells Jules, you know, you can go to jail for like 7 years for this, but she has to admit to what happens. And so when we see Nate comes in a jailbird costume, kind of like what his dad said, like, you need to act like you're innocent. And so he kind of does this to basically show like, you guys all thought I was the bad guy, but I've been exonerated, but I don't think they fully know all of the details yet. So everyone's chanting his name. And then Rue sees how he tips his cup to Jules. Jules immediately feels uncomfortable. Rue sees the exchange, so she knows that something is up, and it has something to do with Nate. And so I don't know if she's gonna figure everything out. Who knows? But I thought that this was a very great episode. I love how they do a great job of even though these episodes are about specific characters, how everything intertwines and continues to keep everybody's story moving each episode. And so now we have to see what Cassie is going to do with this whole pregnancy now, how, you know, Chris is going to deal with football, how this whole thing of Nate absolving himself, you know, is he absolved? He's absolved by the police, but is he absolved of his crime in the public opinion? We will have to find out next week. But I love where Euphoria is going. We only have 2 more episodes left. I promise these episodes gonna be on time, y'all. I promise. But I'm so sad, but I'm so happy I was able to chat about this. Those are my thoughts on Euphoria, season 1, episode 6, the next episode. As always, my name is Sharonda from Para Waits, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. I'll see you soon.